store and buy milk. And so Sirena says, Hungan, Hungan. So this time, Sirena is walking, she's walking to the store, and when she passes the bridge, she covers her eyes like this, and she covers her ears like this. So she can't see her friends swimming, and so she can't hear them yelling at her. So she's going like this, going like this. She walks by, and she steps on a lizard, and she goes, oh, what's that? Oh no, what's that? She's going like this, she's going like this. She gets to the store, she bumps into the door of the store, and she buys the milk, and on the way back, she doesn't know how she wants to, she covers one ear and her eyes, and then she holds the milk like this, and she covers her ear like that, and she's walking like this, and she's walking like that, and then as she's on the bridge, and she's like, oh, okay, I gotta get home, I need to obey my mom, she feels splash, her friends are splashing her, and she's like, ah, and she drops the milk, and then she looks down, and her friends are like, hey, Mila, Anita, Banyango, and Serena's like, oh, okay, fine. So she jumps off the bridge into the river. And then she's like, okay, 5 minutes out, just 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. She's swimming around. Yeah, this is fun, this is fun, this is fun. 3 hours later. 3 hours later, the sun is going down. And so Sirena comes home, and at her door, her mom and her godmother, her Nina, are there. And her mom's so mad. Her mom is crying. Her mom's fists are like this. You know, and she's got a belt in her hand, and she's going to spank Sirena, and she's like, ah! And the godmother is there, she's trying to calm down the mom, she's saying, hey, descansa, descansa. And so Sirena walks up, and she walks up, she's holding the spoiled milk, and she's like, Mama, descansa, look. And Serena's mom looks at her and says, you're not my daughter, it's better if you were a fish. And so Sirena is like, oh, she drops the milk and she starts running to the ocean. And as she's running, her skin starts to feel really weird. And she gets really, really cold. And like she feels, and she starts to stumble, like her legs don't work. And so she's running on the sand of the beach. And it feels like her legs are made of rubber. And eventually she falls and she starts rolling on the ground. And she rolls into the water. And once she's in the water, she realizes that she's a fish. No, she's a fish. She's a fish, and so she starts swimming around, and in her mind she's like, I'm a fish! Ah! I'm a fish! Oh! And she's screaming like that, except she's like a girl. So it's like, I'm a fish! She's like that. Ah! And so then she's swimming around, and she's like, oh, I like swimming, but I'm a fish! Oh! And so, but eventually what happens is that she feels her body start to change again. And the bottom half of her stays really cold, and the top half of her starts getting warm again. And soon her hair starts to grow back, and her arms start to grow back. Even her sister starts to grow back. And then she looks at herself, and she's got a fish tail. She doesn't have any legs anymore. Yeah, she's a mermaid now. And so she gets out. So she looks up out of the water, and she sees on the beach. She sees her mother and her godmother, and they're both crying. And her godmother, she yells at Sirena and she says, I'm sorry, forgive me. I could only save half of you, you know, because your godparents are very important. You belong half to your godparents. And so the godmother told the mother of Sirena, you cannot curse all of Sirena. You have to leave the half which is mine, and I want to forgive her. And so half of her came back to human, but the other half stayed a fish. And so you know what? Sirena looked at her mother, and you know what she said to her mother? She said, I'm sorry, Nana, that I didn't obey you. I'm sorry that I wasn't a very good daughter. But you need to be careful, Nana. You need to make sure never to lose your temper like this again. Never treat any of your children like this, where you curse them and turn them into a fish. And so Sirena, she swam into the ocean, and she lives in the sea, and they say that she's the princess of all fishes. So all the fish obey her commands. And so, you know what the moral of that story is?
Yes.
What is it?
You should always obey your mother.
You should always obey your parents. But then, you know what the lesson is for parents? Don't lose your temper. You know, always forgive your children, even if they make mistakes and even if they disobey you.